Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaste, Haribol, Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the Science of Krishna. We have Srimad Bhagavatam reading going on. All glories to the great devotees and to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth Mahapurana ki Jai. We are today reading chapter 4, the appearance of Shri Narad. Narad ji is the one who gave answers to Srila Vyasadeva. What questions Sri Vyasadeva had, we'll figure that out. On hearing Shuta Goswami speak thus, Shaunak Muni, who was the elderly, learned leader of all the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Shukadev Shuta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Shaunaka said, O Shuta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respective of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukadev Goswami. It's said that Srimad Bhagavatam should be heard from bona fide devotees. In what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasa, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? His Vyasadeva's son was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Here, I would like to address a distinction made between liberated soul and a conditioned soul. A conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform. They may appear to be living equally on this planet Earth, but factually, they are differently engaged and their attention is always alert, either in sense enjoyment or in sense self-realization, respectively. So the conditioned soul is always thinking about how to gratify his senses, whereas a liberated soul is always alert about how to be realized, self-realized. The conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. This indifference is explained as follows. So in the next text, which is text 5, while Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, now we'll see the difference between a conditioned and a liberated soul. So Vyasadeva was following his son. Beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked. But they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them made no distinction between male and female, but the sage Vyasadeva, he made such distinctions. How was he, Srila Shukadev, the son of Vyas, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? So it is said here in Srimad Bhagavatam that a sage is not recognized by sight but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see but to hear him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Shukadev Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact, he was the most elevated, transcendental personality. So never judge a book by its cover. Indeed, how did it so happen that King Parikshit met this sage, great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Vedas, Bhagavatam, to be sung to him? So, Srimad Bhagavatam here is stated as the essence of the Vedas. He, Shukadev Goswami, is accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked. And he does this just to sanctify the residence. It is said that when a saint visits the home of a person to beg for alms, it's not that they are demanding something. It is a reminder for the householder that, oh soul, realize what your true purpose is. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first class devotee of the Lord and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganga and fast until death? He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Materially, everything for Parikshit Maharaj was satisfying. But why did he choose to sit at the bank of Ganga and hear Srimad Bhagavatam? Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So, even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, he could how could he give up his mortal body, which was the shelter for others? We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Now, Sut Goswami will say, these are Sut Goswami's words. Sut Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashar in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. Once upon a time, he, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. The great sage Vyasadeva saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unseen force of time. The great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of the age. He could also see that the faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life and would be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus, he contemplated for the welfare of men in all statuses and orders of life. So, all those who are devotees of the great Lord, they are eager to serve mankind, all the creations of the great Lord. And it is written in Srimad Bhagavad Gita that sometimes when the great Lord thinks that, okay, I should just give up on this person, then the devotee of the great Lord is so merciful that he says, no, I will not give up on this person. Let me try one more time. Maybe this time he'll wake up from the slumber and get maybe one step closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is how merciful the bona fide devotees of the great Lord are. I bow down in front of all the great devotees of the great Lord. Hari Bhakton ki Jai. He saw that the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupations could be purified, and to simplify the process, he divided the one Veda into four in order to expand them among men. The four divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the fifth Veda. After the Vedas were divided into four divisions, Pal Rishi became the professor of Rigved, Jamini the professor of Samaved, and Vaishampayan alone became glorified by the Yajurveda. The Sumantu Muni, Angira, who was very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with the Atharva Ved, and my father, Roma Harshana, was entrusted with the Puranas and historical records. All these learned scholars, in their turn, rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, and great grand disciples. And thus, the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. So, no one can claim independent knowledge beyond the Vedas. Thus, the great sage Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called the Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. O twice born Brahmanas! Still his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of all people. Thus, the sage, being dissatisfied at heart, at once began to reflect because he knew the essence of religion, and he said within himself, I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual masters, and the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras, and others, friends of the twice born, can see the path of religion. It is said that in this age, Mahabharata is even more important than the original Vedas. So now Vyasadeva is contemplating that I am feeling incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. This may be because I did not specifically point out, this is important, the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. As mentioned before, Narad Muni reached the cottage of Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas on the banks of the Saraswati just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defects. At the auspicious arrival of Sri Narad, Sri Vyasadeva got up respectfully and worshipped him, giving him veneration equal to that given to Brahmaji, the creator. Now, this is important. The purport is Vidhi means Brahma, the first created living being. He is the original student as well as professor of the Vedas. He learned it from Shri Krishna and taught Narad first. So Narad is the second Acharya in the line of spiritual disciplic succession. He is the representative of Brahma and therefore he is respected exactly like Brahma, the father of all vidhis, meaning regulations. Similarly, all other successive disciples in the chain are also equally respected as representatives of the original spiritual master. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth Mahapurana ki jai. In the next episode, we'll see chapter 5, where what instructions Narad Muni gave to Srila Vyasadeva will be disclosed to us, in a hope that may this reading of Srimad Bhagavatam helps in igniting the flame of pure devotion for Shri Krishna. I dedicate this episode, this initiative, at the lotus feet of my cute Kishori darling Madhusudna ji, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji, and all the great devotees of the great Lord. Hari Bhakton ki jai, Aaj ke Anand ki jai. I'll see you next week with chapter 5 and we'll dive into the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much for tuning in, and may we all fall in love with our beloved Shri Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namaste, Hari Bol, Radhe Radhe.